I am Mahmoud Mbuj and welcome to the Viewpoint. My guest today is a Jamaican Canadian Islamic scholar, a teacher, speaker, speaks around the world on topics that shape and define our times, really. He's an author, he's published more than 50 books, and the founder and chancellor of the International Open University in this country, a private distance learning university. He's no stranger to the Viewpoint. He's been here before. Dr. Bilal Phillips, welcome to the Viewpoint once again.
My pleasure to be back.
It is said on Wikipedia that you live in Qatar. You still do you?
Yes, I do. I've been in
Qatar
Qatar for over 20 years now.
Yep,
But I lived before in the UAE for 10 years and Saudi Arabia for 20 years. So I've spent most of my life in the Middle East.
Absolutely. As I said there, you've written more than 50 books. Any new ones recently?
The tafsir of Surah Yasin was published this year, just maybe about a month ago. That's the most recent. And there are others in the pipeline, the 99 names of Allah, interpretation and reflection. That's a major work. That will be an encyclopedic work. It will probably be in 3 volumes because there's so much there in the names of Allah.
Yes, it. And today the discussion, of course, we'll talk about the International Open University and all the activities you're doing there. But perhaps the first part of this discussion would be on your books. Are there any abiding themes, as it were, enduring themes that run through your oeuvre? And we will discuss this tafsir Surah Yasin. We'll discuss that and sort of try to extract general themes from your work. Take us through your Surah Yasin, your tafsir Surah Yasin.
Well, the tafsir, is a comprehensive tafsir, which I've drawn from the classical works that have been done, up hundreds of years ago, and brought them into the concepts into the modern times, looking into their relevance to our times, because the Quran is a book which is not bound by time. So whatever Allah has spoken and is recorded in the Quran, it has relevance. It is for us to find that relevance. Sometimes the relevance is quite obvious, whereas at other times it's quite subtle, and you understand it indirectly. But the topics of Surah Yasin are so many that, I didn't focus on topics, individual topics. I focused on the individual verses, so this was...
That's how it was structured.
Yes. Yeah, because this was the focus. Some people focus on themes. What are the themes of the chapter, and then they will discuss those, etc. My focus was on verse by verse. It's a verse by verse translation. Of course, maybe 2 or 3 verses may be together because they complete an idea or concept, so I deal with them that way. Where there are what we call standalone verses, that you don't need to have read something before and read what comes after to understand them, then I just deal with that verse by itself. So my approach is following the flow of the Quran, because the Quranic text is really Allah talking to humankind. It is a conversation. Allah is passing on information, and in the same way that we don't think in stories. When we sit and we talk, we don't talk in stories. Like you may find in the Bible, the story of this and the story of that and the story of the other. What you find in the Quran is that, yes, there may be a story of Prophet Yusuf. There's a whole chapter on him. But at the same time, the theme, the flow of the Quran may shift into family issues, may shift into legal issues, may shift into the importance of following the Prophet as the example, and so on and so forth. So just as we speak, because for a lot of people who are unfamiliar with the Quran, they're expecting when they open the Quran to find it like a book that has an introduction, it has a theme, a story which is developed, and it has an ending. But that's not the way the Quran is, you know. I've done the tafsir, you know, according to the flow of conversation which Allah had with us in that chapter.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very interesting. We'll go back to that. But perhaps one can even just make the point that, yes, but maybe character, the person, it is formed through stories. Can one make that point? Human beings, we are formed through stories. So I wonder, what is the purpose of your book? When I read it, what perspective are you giving me of Islam regarding this subject
Well,
you
in
deal
terms
with?
in terms of the surah, the chapter, as I said, it is extracting from the message which is being conveyed in the chapter, whether in story form, because there are short stories, or in the legal explanations which are given that as to how human beings should live their lives, how their relationships should be with one another, or it is in terms of righteous deeds, living a righteous life.
So I don't have to be a Muslim to benefit from reading your
No,
book?
absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Is it a religious act? Is it a political act? When I read it, should I be proselytized? Should I convert? Or is it only preaching to the converted? This is what I want to understand here. That's it. What kind of effect is your purpose, to convert people to Islam, or the person who is a Muslim already to provide you deeper understanding, and the two may not necessarily be mutually exclusive?
Well, the bottom line is that Allah has very clearly stated in the Quran that, you know, إِنَّمَا عَلَيْكَ الْبَلَاغِ, it's your duty to convey the message, to share it with others. وَعَلَيْنَا الْحِسَابِ, and taking people to account is with me, Allah. So we are not, you know, it's not our job to make you believe or to convert you as so and so. No, it's only to convey the message. You know, and the Prophet, may God's peace and blessing be upon him, had said, you know, بَلِّغُوا عَنِّي وَلَوْ آيَةً. You should convey whatever you've learned from me, even if it's only a single verse of the Quran. Convey it to the others. Whether they're Muslim, whether they're non-Muslim, convey that message.
Yes. In the beginning, you said something quite interesting, sort of teaching us about aspects of Islam within the light of modernity, if one can call it that. Now, that's an interesting one. How do you do that? Because if the Quran, Islam, that's the word of God, it's written, clear, how do I interpret it, as it were, to suit modernity? What can I change? I mean, you do have quite a number of sects. Some of them say we have to go back to the pure, pious predecessors. I've even read one. So how do you keep it updated? If it's updating what you're doing, I'm not even sure.
Well, let's look at it this way, that human beings, from the time Adam was created till today, have not changed. Human beings are human beings. The same emotions, thoughts, desires, etc., they are with us, you know, and we have not changed from that. But the point is that Allah, God, did not just create us and leave us on our own. He gave us guidance and direction and understanding, provided for us in a variety of different ways, means to better understand ourselves and the people around us and the societies and the environment, etc. So it is, you could say, universal. The issue when God clarified to Adam that he created the garden in which he and Eve were in, and clarified to both Adam and Eve, that they were to take from it and benefit, to eat from it, etc., as they wished, except for one tree. And that situation we find ourselves in today. There are so many things which are good for us, beneficial for us, and there are other things which are like them, but they're harmful to us. And we were created and given an understanding, guidance, as well as divine revelation, which should guide us through life to stay away from those other things which may look very nice, very attractive, and presented in a very beautiful way, but we know there is harm at the back.
Do I need religion to teach me that?
Yes. Because human beings are limited in their understanding. They are created beings. They don't know the future. They don't know what's outside, what's going on outside here right now. Yes, we can put a CCTV, but we can't put it everywhere. Cameras, right? So we are very limited in our ability to understand what is not obvious.
So without religion, there'll be no morality? What we call ethics, morality? Is that the connection here?
You could say that. You could say that this is the religion brought with it the moral principles by which human beings should live in order to live a good life as a society. And even the Prophet, may God's peace and blessings be upon him himself, he stated, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. I was only sent to humankind in order to perfect and complete for them the highest moral principles. So he summed up the message of Islam as a moral message. That without that moral message which defines for human beings how they should relate to God, how they should relate to their fellow human beings, and how they should relate to the environment in which they are living, without that guidance, there will be gaps. Yes, you can say human beings with common sense can figure out some of these things yourself. Yes, we can. But, when morality is defined by quote-unquote democracy, you have a problem. But because morality will change with the election, with the majority. They feel this which was considered not good to be good tomorrow, and that which was good to not be good tomorrow.
But again, Dr. Phillips, I mean, in history, when we look around the world, so many wars by religion, as it were, one form or another. There was really nothing moral about that, because especially when you read about the atrocities committed, some people might even say that because of that, with perhaps the rise of the Enlightenment in Europe, that was when they started to kick to touch, as it were, religion, putting reason, as it were, in its place. Some people say that perhaps morality is much deeper in us than religion. Religion is sort of piggybacking on a deeper human trait, which is just what nature given. How would you respond to that? And even today, there's a declining influence of God in many parts of the world. How
Well,
would you attribute that to? What is your explanation for what's going on?
that is with materialism. You know, when a society becomes materialistic,
Haven't
and
we
this
always
is
been?
no,
We are material
no,
beings and we need
when
technology.
society becomes materialistic to the point that they remove morality from the classroom. So people are just taught the physical world and the knowledge which enables them to manipulate that physical world and to operate within it. But when you take morality out of that, then you get that 6-year-old kid in the States just a month ago who went into his kindergarten class with a gun and shot his teacher. You see, there's something happening. What creates a mind that will do that? Why did that child, where did it come from? And this is not just one. How many other killings that are going on? Mass murders are increasing and increasing at a scale that was not known before. And this, to me, in my assessment, is a direct product of secularization, removing of morality from the classroom and from learning in general, and just giving it, so we create robots in the society. You do this, you get that, you get your money, etc. You just do what you're told.
But is that the United States or secularism? Because you do have other secular societies where they don't do that sort of thing.
No, but they're doing it. They'll catch up. They're just a few years behind.
So that's a hypothesis. That's your hypothesis there.
And that's what we've seen. You know, what America was doing 10 years ago, people in other Western countries are doing now.
But there are many things that they're doing others wouldn't do. For instance, that widespread availability of firearms. Anybody can buy it. Other societies said, no, we are not going there. So you do have many secular societies who haven't followed the path of the U.S. in so many different areas.
Not many, you know, and it's just a matter of time, in my view.
Doctor, this year I think you've done sort of Dawa lectures, haven't you? You're going to have the Dawa lectures this year?
Well, yes, I'll be going to Mecca and Medina, inshallah, with a group of those who are concerned about da'wah, that is conveying Islam to others who don't know it, whether Muslim or non-Muslim. And this group of maybe about 40 or 50 males and females who are interested in this or engaged in it in America or in the UK, they will be brought together, and myself and some other scholars will give them guidance and direction in terms of how to best deliver that message, you know, that the Prophet, may God's peace and blessing be upon him, had instructed us to do, and to help them to be able to do it effectively, you know. So my course will be focused on moments in my life in which da'wah principles could be extracted and learned from. You know, how I engaged in da'wah at different points in my life, different circumstances that arose, where there's guidance for those who are being trained for da'wah. I will focus on those highlights, you know, from my life to focus the lectures around.
So this is more of an applied, as it were, dawah, how to apply principles and values in the real world.
That's what I'm doing now for this program. There will be somebody else teaching the theory, you know, the theoretical principles, etc. And I've taught those before also. But I just thought to make it different, rather than, you know, repeat what is commonly taught, I would take from my life, because I've experienced much, I've lived in a number of different places, and been involved in so many different dawah-related activities, you know, right up to the university which I set up 10, 12 years ago, that there are messages in there, because all of it was, and this is my life from my conversion to Islam, because I won't be using before I became a Muslim to find principles to guide people, you know, in Islamic methodology for conveying the message.
That's it. You were born in Jamaica,
Yes.
but afterwards
Grew
you
up
became
in
a Canada, and that's why I
Lived
introduced
most of my life in the Middle East.
over there. You know, Doctor, I've often wondered, these days, of course, we talk about plurality, pluralism, and that sort of thing, and I've often wondered, how should perhaps Islam position itself within this pluralist society, not just sort of in terms of ethnic distribution, even small Gambia, I think we've got 8 on different religions, be it Islam, Christianity, and others. How should one, as a Muslim, how does it position myself within this multivocal, this variegated, different colors and different realities, different lifestyles? How do you position ourselves in there?
Well, the reality is that the example of the Prophet, may God's peace and blessings be upon him, delivers that clarity. He lived in a society with all kinds of beliefs and practices, etc., and he dealt with the various circumstances which arose in his life, etc., and he left that behind for us as a blueprint, and he referred to it as his sunnah, or his way, you know, and this is the way of the prophets. All of the prophets left behind ways for their followers to follow, to be on the path which God had delineated for them, for the people, to guide them through their lives. So we have this example, and the Prophet had said, I've left with you 2 things, taraktu fikum amrayn, in tamassaktum bihima, if you hold on firmly to them, lan tadillu abada, you will never go astray. That is kitabullah wa sunnati, the book of Allah and my sunnah. So we have the written message and we have the living message, which was the life of the Prophet, may God's peace and blessing be upon him, as he lived out the message of the Quran. So we have you know, sufficient information there to guide us in all of the various circumstances that we're going to find in life. That's my belief,
Yeah.
you know, that God, who revealed his word to humankind, revealed it not just for the Arabs in Arabia, you know, 1,400 years ago, but he revealed it for the rest of time. It was the last books of Revelation to be really revealed. And the Prophet's life was carefully recorded in great detail, and God made it possible for it to be recorded in such a way that we have it now before us, and we will have it till the end of this world. This is our belief, and this is the reality that we live.
And I can hold that belief and yet have a neighbor with a different belief, yet we get along.
Yes,
It's the notion of tolerance inbuilt, as it were,
Yes.
in what we do.
Yes.
But there's another area, Dr. Phillips, that's been giving me sort of sleepless nights, the relationship between religious belief and personal conduct. A lot of people will profess all sorts of beliefs. Well, I had assumed that by believing, that will inspire, motivate the actions, but you realize it doesn't work like that. I take, for instance, our country, my country, Gambia, perhaps good number of countries around the world. In Africa, apparently when it comes to all surveys on religious belief, we're very, very high. And I looked at another survey, when it comes to public corruption, we are all obsessed now with that because that is the one retarding government and development. We are also among the most corrupt. Then I thought, if everybody truly lived his or her Muslim belief, this place would be heaven. What is this disconnect? How much does religious belief really influence human conduct?
I believe that it can influence human conduct to the highest possible level. It is something which is universal, and it's not going anywhere. It has been around from the time of Adam, and it will continue till the last human being in this world. It has a solid foundation. Now, whether people take advantage of it and benefit from it and utilize it for the benefit of society, etc., or they choose to ignore it and to come up with their own things for their own purposes, etc., etc., that's human choice. Human beings have that choice. And it was in the time of Adam, he could have refrained from eating from the tree, or he could eat. You see? He had that choice. And that choice remains
Now
until the last person in this world.
That's an interesting one. We'll take a short break here, and when we come back, we'll continue. Don't go away, we'll be right back.
As the fastest growing GSM company in the Gambia, QCell has the widest 4G plus coverage in the country, 3 times faster internet speed than our competitors. So switch now and dial *335# and enjoy what true 4G feels like. QCell, the Gambia's trusted network.
Hello, welcome back to the Viewpoint. Today I've got Dr. Bilal Phillips. We're talking about some of his books. He's written so many books and just extracting certain themes, that are very relevant to our age today. And we're having a discussion. Fantastic. I'm really enjoying myself, I have to say, Doctor. I'm learning a lot here. Just before the break, you were talking about the Garden of Eden and that choice. Now, maybe it's important to dwell a bit here, because over here, the way we talk about religion, and there's a certain fatalism to a lot of stuff, a certain inevitability that God knows everything that you're going to do, whatever you did. Somebody would say, well, you were bound to do it. You are fated to do it. How does choice and predetermination, I think that's, some people call it that, how would you explain the relationship between the two, choice and that element of inevitability in human action?
Well, when you're looking at the issues of human choice and God's infinite knowledge, you end up in that situation where physically, mentally, you are making your choices. I chose to come here to sit down and to talk with you. It was my choice. I could have not come, right? But at the same time, God knew that I would come. But now, is God's knowledge of me coming what made me come? Okay.
No, this is really tangled up.
No, it's not really tangled. It's quite simple if you keep it.
So within my realm, there is a choice, but God knew what I was going to do. But how much of a choice was that?
No, well, this is where you want to measure the level of choice that you had. For you, relative to yourself, you had a full choice. It was 100%. You had this choice. You could do it or not do it. Now, the fact that somebody knows that you're going to do it doesn't mean that he made you do it. See, because this is where you're mixing the two together and it gets, kind of clumsy. So it's like, for example, if I were a teacher, I've taught a student from kindergarten to grade 12, right? I've watched him work, I've guided him or her and, marked their exams and all this, gone through all of this for the last 12 years. And in grade 12, when they enter into grade 12, I could write in my book or on computer, Muhammad Ahmed will get 90%. Fatima will get 95%. And I could write through the students that I taught those 12 years what their marks are going to be. And then put the book aside. Teach the courses, they go through the courses, and then they do their exams, etc., and they get all the marks, and then you compare those marks to what I wrote. And you say, it's the same. Now, did I make them get those marks? No. But my knowledge of them was sufficient for me to be able to guesstimate, because that's what you're doing in the end, right? But accurately, very accurately, because you had that knowledge. Was in the case of God, God is not guessing.
Absolutely. But you see, in this particular case, it's on a small, finite scale. So now with the same people, the 95, 90, and whoever, by whatever means I measure success, in 20 years or 30 years, what can you say? Maybe the analogy is a bit like that, really, because I'm told that I'm predetermined from whatever I'm going to do in life, already decided. But you know that with you, in your analogy, you will find it difficult to tell me in 20 years or 30 years what it's going to be. Maybe even the person who used to score 40 will come and outstrip the person who used to score 90.
Yeah, but
in the longer term. So there's still...
No, the point here is that we're talking about a finite individual making a guesstimate. Okay? And then you're talking about the infinite defining and recording what will be. There's two different realms.
That's exactly
two different realms. So we,
exactly
we understand within the scope of our realm. What is important to understand in all of this is just that God knows all. Our knowledge is limited. We try to make the best choices that we can, but we are making choices, and we will be held accountable for our choices.
Yes, so in the end, that is individual agency. It doesn't matter how much people try to dodge that. Individuals must take the responsibility. I think in the end, that's really what you're saying, Doctor. Now let's go more to to the university. We've had enough abstract sort of swords players, as it were. You had your recent convocation.
Yes.
Your what is it? The 9th, 25th of February. Yes. So your reflections on your 9th convocation.
Well, alhamdulillah, the convocation was an example, a clear example of the development that is taking place in the university. I could see things blossoming before my eyes. The convocation here in the Gambia is only a small image of what is going on around the world, because the vast majority of our graduating students were in other countries.
Absolutely. I was going to ask you that, how you marked it, because you were an online, as it were, university, as it were.
Well, but we do have the offline graduation here, because the headquarters of the university is here in the Gambia. So it's a Gambian university, fundamentally. So though we could have done everything online, and for those who are not here, it's all online, but for here in the Gambia, we can provide for the students the enjoyment of having gone through the physical process of graduating, receiving their certificates, etc., etc. You know, this is a part of the university life, the physical university life, which those online will not participate directly, but they can participate through what they see of their comrades, their classmates, because all of the students that graduated here had classmates from Japan, from Philippines, from India, from Lesotho, from Kenya, Ghana, Nigeria. We can keep listing till we cover all of the countries. We have students from over 200 countries in the world.
Yes.
And every class that the students study, they're studying along with students from multiple locations around the world. So this unique, I call it the Hajj experience, is felt by the students throughout their study. They have classmates from all around the world. They share, they discuss, they get advice, and etc. That interaction. This is the product of Hajj. That global experience there in Mecca and its confines.
That's the technology, isn't it? In many different areas, you
allows
get that
us
sense.
to experience what we couldn't imagine experiencing in the past.
That's it. So, but this offline, do you have certain courses that are offline, I wonder? Tell us about the offline aspects.
Well, in terms of offline courses, our offline courses are currently courses which we have taken on to help a university which was closed here in the Gambia due to issues with the administration, etc. The ministry shut it down. And we were asked to take on those students and to continue their courses. So we hired professors, etc., and helped those students, and we'll continue to help them until they graduate. So this is something unique. It's not being done anywhere else in the world for IOU, our university, but it's being done to benefit the Gambian students who would have lost severely from being the university shut down, and they no longer have access to their teachers, and their degrees, etc., lost. So we took that on, as a show of commitment to education in the Gambia, higher education in the Gambia for all, because that is our approach. It's accessible for all. We can get it to everybody. If you help us, we are able to put it in every home.
You draw your students from around the world. I wonder, what about the lecturers?
Our lecturers are from all around the world also. We have Gambian lecturers, we have Indonesian lecturers, we have Norwegian lecturers.
And they don't have to be here?
No.
Wherever you are, you can give your lectures. And what about because you just told us there where you had to step in to essentially bail out a school that was gonna shut. 1,000 scholarships you gave last year, didn't you? So how did that one come about? Tell us more about this scholarship scheme.
Well, we offered to the Gambia 1,000 scholarships as an extension of a project that we have ongoing. Now this project, it's called One Mass, 1 million African scholarships. Based on the principles of the UN, UNDP, etc., where they have clearly stated that the difference between the underdeveloped and the developed is education. That's where we are focused, to provide that education in order to uplift the society as a whole.
So you're with collaborating with other institutions, obviously, because it's a huge.
No, actually, we're doing it on our own.
With this 1,000.
No,
with
no,
the
with
1
the
million.
1 million project.
Okay, that's
right?
the Open University. Is it your university doing it on its own?
Yes, it's doing it. That's not. There are people who are contributing to
Of
it,
course.
providing scholarships, etc. We provide the education.
Yeah. So you initiated it. You're really.
And so we're in 25 different countries in Africa, and we have students who are studying in a similar way, where they're studying on scholarship. Actually, 1/3 of our student body. 1/3 of our student body are studying without paying anything. They're studying on scholarship, And as a private university, I think you'll be hard pressed to find another university, private university in the world, which provides scholarships to 1/3 of its students.
And how have you managed to do that?
We've managed to do it with the support of those who seek to spread and make education available and accessible to as many as possible. Those who have that commitment, who have provided the scholarships in order for us to be able to provide the education, they are our partners. We have partners all around the world who have supported this effort and continue to support it.
So with these scholarships, the recipients, would it have to be on courses of their own choice, or do they have a select? How does it work?
Well, we
them?
have 8 different specializations, and they can choose from them as they wish. We have others. We're adding public health and mass communications. We're adding others, and once they're online and available, then they will have the choices to choose those also. So what was given for the underprivileged, those who are eligible for zakat, for charity, those who can afford to pay, then we say, no, you pay. We already, are charging 1/4 of what UTG charges for the degree. UTG charges $4,000 for the degree. We charge $1,200 for the degree. So that is already a charity in and of itself.
Absolutely. And I wonder, so with the 1,000, how many given so far? Is it going to be given over a period? Is it over what period?
It will be over a 10-year period.
Over a 10-year period.
And it will be in collaboration with the government. The government will, along with our representatives, select the students. Because of course, we have all been warned, that people will want to give these scholarships to their family members, and this, and we know what happens in general. So we're aware of it, and we have tried to put things in place to ensure that those who really need these scholarships get it.
All right. You open a center in Jarasoma. Why?
Because we are working on the basis that the university should be taken to the people rather than the people to the university. We have a number of students in that region who struggle to come down to Banjul to study. Many of them can't. Only those who are able to have arrangements for themselves here when they come down to Banjul, they can stay with extended families and so on, so they can do it. Otherwise, they're stuck. They don't have any access. Remember, only 6% of high school graduates in the Gambia get seats in the institutions of higher learning in the country. 6%. The world average is 26%. But we are only 6. And this is not just the Gambia, it's across Africa. You know, this is what we share. But it's terrible. And we need to fix it. And the only way to fix it is to take the university to them. Decentralize the universities. Take them to the people, to the places where there are clusters of people, where they can access internet, access electricity, etc., and learn from centers. This is the way to go. Because if you were to say you have 7 regions, we had to build 7 UTGs, the government couldn't do it. Couldn't be done. So the only way to do it is to do it by building centers, you know, where people only have to go into computer classrooms. And their courses are there online, and they study online.
Yes. So this one has been open for how long? How has been the response of students coming to enroll?
By the time we opened it, it was already full. Full to the top. You know, so we need to open another one in that same area. And Basai, we also visited Basai and made arrangements to set up another center in Basai. And the intent is to put one in every region of the 7 regions that constitute the Gambia.
But this one is obviously fee-paying.
No.
Student, it is all free.
No.
All
Those who can afford to pay, they pay.
So they are means tested.
Yes. Yeah. It's providing access to the knowledge. So those who, it's the same principle that we apply here, we apply there. If you can afford the fees, you pay the fees. If you can't afford the fees, you get a scholarship.
Absolutely. Here I'm wondering, because most institutions you go to, you have to pay all sorts of fees. But again, you understand, especially when they are private institutions, that they need to make their profit. Because you have to have staff and the billing, you pay all sorts of utility bills and all the rest of it. So which makes one wonder, you have a healthy, as it were, conveyor belt of funds coming in, one must say. That's how you've been able to, you've managed to give scholarships, 1,000, helping out a lot. How are you making profits to?
Well, the principle that we're working on is that 100 people paying $1,000, 100 people paying $1,000 each is the same as 1,000 people paying $100 each. Now, according to business principles, you know, having 100 paying 1,000, you've won. You're a success. You're a success. You only have 100 people to deal with, right? If you're 1,000 people paying 100, then you've got work, because you have to deal with the needs of these 1,000 people. But in the end, if it is about conveying that knowledge, spreading the knowledge, then we go with the 1,000 paying 100. And that's the principle that we work on, that the numbers will come and the numbers will keep coming as long as you are providing quality education. Alhamdulillah, we're fully accredited in the Gambia as an institution, as well as the courses that we offer, you know. And the students can be assured, the students who have studied in other institutions and studied in our institution, you know, can attest to the difference in what we are offering. So it will speak for itself.
Talking about the accreditation, let's maybe go into that a bit. I was within the education sector some time back when NACA was formed, the National Accreditation and Quality Assurance Authority. How do you see this monitoring, as it were, of tertiary institutions by the monitoring bodies such as NACA and the ministry?
Well, it's been very scrupulous. I mean, they have been very precise, and alhamdulillah, you know, we have sought as an institution to meet whatever requirements that they set. Other institutions that are here don't seem to be cooperating with them as we do. This is the institution itself have said that to us. We wish that the other institutions would cooperate as you do, you know. But when they come through, they do their inspections, they do their identify things which need to be changed or improved or whatever. You know, the principles which are involved in the setting up of the courses, the curriculums, etc. You know, all of these, the requirements and qualifications of those who are instructing in the system, all of this we have met. We have sought, if we weren't meeting it before, we made sure that we met it. So we have been working with them hand in glove.
That's it. But I was also wondering though, your Open University, is it linked to the other Open Universities around the world? You've talked about, I think, what you've got in Africa, but I even did a course with Open University in the UK. Mm-hmm. Is there this international link between Open Universities, or yours is different from those?
Well, it's different in its approach, but in concept, it's virtually the same in terms of operation, right? And we have participated in major conferences for open universities around the world, held in Far East and in the West. We have participated whenever they have been set up. And recently we just participated with OUM University, OUM, that's the Open University of Malaysia, and we have forged very strong links and bonds with them because we share a lot in common in terms of our ethos and our vision in terms of the education. So, and we are open to work with any of the other open universities that are accredited around the world.
That was going to be my next question, whether you were affiliated, as it were, with different institutions around the world and stuff.
The major bodies. We're just in the process now of building links with actual institutions, but there are bodies which bring all the institutions together with conferences, discussions, and presentations, and so on. So we are linked with all of those that basically we have come in contact with. But in terms of the universities, that's a step-by-step process that will take some time, and the most recent is that of OUM University in Malaysia. Which is one of the top 10 universities.
This is a right point for us to just give us a summary of the Open University itself, its formation, and what you've been doing so far in the end.
Well, we started in 2010 with Islamic studies, Sharia, taught in English, along with Arabic linguistics degree. So we started with those two. By 2014, with the first graduation, we had begun adding other departments or colleges to the university, which were built based on the needs of the graduates from Sharia. Because that's where the idea of the different departments came from. We're looking at the Sharia graduate who studies Sharia and then graduates and goes into his community or her community, is required to be a teacher. But in their Sharia studies, they didn't learn principles of teaching, pedagogy, and et cetera, et cetera. They're required to be a counselor, counseling people for all the problems that they face with, but it's not in their curriculum. They're required to be a manager. The people will say, come, lead the community. You are the graduate from, XYZ Islamic University. Lead the way. But you didn't study management and, So students were graduating without having a wide enough access to other areas of knowledge which would complete their job, the job that they're going to take on after graduation. We tried to add those as minors during the first 4 years. We added it as minors. So they were taking a bachelor's in Sharia with a minor in psychology, or a minor in education, or minors in both psychology and education. These options were left for students.
Yes,
also.
and do I have to be a Muslim to be a student?
No.
No.
No, it's not a requirement. People who are non-Muslims have joined the university and studied with us, and they are free to choose the subjects which they are most interested in.
Yes, and they are not necessarily all Islamic based.
Yes.
The subjects.
So
Yes,
we
I
have
know
other
that.
subjects. If there's one subject which is in the curriculum which they're not that interested in, etc., they can get an elective to replace it.
Thank you very much. And your next enrollment will be?
The next enrollment actually begun now.
Absolutely. They're the perfect place where to end it. Thank you very much, Dr. Bilal Phillips, for fantastic, wonderful conversation there. Thank you very much, our viewers. Until next time, I'm Amadou Mbodj. Goodbye.